Caseoh was a happy guy. He had a ginger beard you could get lost in, and he really liked food. His favorite place on earth was McDonald's. He loved the Big Macs. He loved the fries. He even loved the smell of the place. It was like a second home to him. Sometimes he even slept there. Okay, maybe not slept, but he definitely dozed off once or twice in a booth after a particularly big meal. One time he tried to order everything on the menu. The cashier laughed. Caseoh didn't get the joke. He was serious. He just wanted to try it all. He had a big appetite, you see. Food made him happy, and McDonald's was his happy place. Then one day, everything changed. Caseoh was walking to McDonald's humming a happy tune. He was really craving a McFlurry. But as he got closer, he saw something terrible. The building was gone. It was just a pile of rubble. Dust filled the air. Caseoh couldn't believe his eyes. He ran to the rubble, his heart pounding. He looked everywhere, but it was no use. His beloved McDonald's was gone. Just then, a news report flashed on a nearby screen. It showed Arnold Schwarzenegger wearing an evil grin holding a demolition plunger. He had destroyed McDonald's. Caseoh was devastated. He didn't know what to do. He wandered around in a daze. He felt empty inside, emptier than his stomach, and that was saying something. He needed comfort. He needed a donut. He spotted a bakery across the street. A giant pink sprinkle-covered donut sat in the window. It called to him. He went inside and bought the donut. He didn't know why, but this donut felt different. It glowed faintly. It felt warm in his hands. He took a bite. It was the most delicious donut he'd ever tasted. He ate the whole thing in one go. Then he felt a strange sensation, like a tingle, spreading through his body. The tingling got stronger. Caseoh felt hot, then cold. He started to grow. His clothes ripped apart, his belly got bigger, his arms got thicker, his beard even seemed to puff out more. He smashed through the roof of the bakery. People screamed and ran. Caseoh looked down at himself. He was even fatter than before, but he didn't just feel bigger. He felt powerful. He could feel the donut's energy surging through him. He realized the truth. That wasn't any ordinary donut. It was a radioactive donut. And it had given him superpowers, but what kind of powers? He didn't know yet, but he was ready to find out. Section 5. Rise of the Crimson Carbivore. From that day on, Caseoh was known as the Crimson Carbivore. It wasn't the catchiest name, but it fit. He wore the remains of his ripped clothes as a kind of cape. His ginger beard was like a fiery mane, and his belly, well, his belly was his secret weapon. He discovered he had amazing powers. He could eat anything, and he did. He once ate an entire buffet in one sitting, tables, chairs, and all. He could also burp with the force of a hurricane. And strangest of all, he could shoot donuts out of his fingertips. They weren't killer donuts, though. He wasn't about hurting people. He just wanted to share his love of donuts with the world. But the world was in trouble. Supervillains were popping up everywhere. There was Dr. Malevolent, who was trying to shrink the moon with a shrink ray. There was the sinister squirrel, who was using his army of squirrels to steal all the nuts in the world. And then there was the most terrifying villain of them all, the broccoli bomber. This villain was terrorizing cities, dropping broccoli bombs from his broccoli-shaped blimp. People were running for their lives, desperate to avoid the healthy green bombs. Caseoh knew he had to do something. The world needed a hero. It needed the Crimson Carbivore. Caseoh sprang into action. He fought Dr. Malevolent by eating his shrink ray. It tasted like metal, but with a hint of lemon. He defeated the sinister squirrel by challenging him to a nut-eating contest. Caseoh won, obviously. And as for the broccoli bomber, well, Caseoh knew just what to do. He flew up to the broccoli bomber's blimp and used his super burp to blow the villain away. Then he ate the entire blimp, broccoli bombs and all. He even found some leftover dipping sauce packets, which he thought was a nice touch. The world was safe thanks to the Crimson Carbivore. People cheered for him. They made statues of him out of mashed potatoes, his favorite. He even got a parade in his honor. It was the greatest day of his life. Well, almost. He was still sad about McDonald's. But then he realized something. He had a new purpose. He was a hero now. He had responsibilities. And besides, he had a feeling there were plenty more delicious things to eat out there in the world. He couldn't let a little thing like the destruction of his favorite fast food joint get him down. So, the Crimson Carbivore continued his adventures. He traveled the globe fighting villains, eating everything in sight, and spreading his message of donut-fueled positivity. He learned that being a hero wasn't about having a six-pack or wearing a fancy costume. It was about having a big heart and an even bigger stomach and using your powers for good. And as for that empty lot where McDonald's used to be, well, caseoh had an idea. He was going to build something new there, something even better, something that would bring joy to everyone. He was going to build the world's biggest donut buffet. The end, or maybe just the beginning.